later on when they're stuck in the asteroid together. You know, it's some good stuff in there. It's really well written. You can tell there's some chemistry there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what my favorite scene is. It's either the asteroid scene where they realize that it's not a cave, or the X-wing being pulled out of the swamp. It's one of those two, I think. It's the best scene in the movie. This time,
Minox chewing on the power cables.
Welcome to Season 3 of Talking Pondo. Talking Pondo is a podcast where Clif and Marty give each other a film to watch and talk about them in detail. Some episodes will include a special guest. Space Chimps will not be seen this week, wait a minute, we did watch Space Chimps. The whole reason we watched one of the movies this week is because Cliff played a really funny joke, and he's pretty funny for doing this, whether he realized it or not. He gives me a movie that literally has space chimps in it. I had already made the space chimps joke a few weeks ago, forgot about it, and then I'm sitting there watching The Right Stuff, one of the films this week, and went, fucking A. That's funny, because this is fucking space chimps. But anyways, this is Talking Pondo. I'm Marty and Cliff. We also watched a little obscene movie called The Empire Strikes Back.
That's the best one of ever. That's the best opening so far. And you caught me. That's exactly what that was. I was like, space chimps. All right, here we go. Yeah, we shot a chimp into space. We sure did. And look at that smile on his face. Didn't he look like he took a shit in his diaper? He sure did. Space chimps.
Are you guys passing out the Right Stuff masks? Yeah, you gotta stop doing that. Everybody's going in to dress like Ed Harris, and they're scaring the shit out of the people that work there.
Yeah, everybody looks like Scott Glenn or John Carpenter. Scott Carpenter or John Glenn. Knock it off. Oh, shit. Oh, man. All right.
I got a Ray Ward mask.
That was a good opening. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm like, do I turn it into? And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna do this because that's how I felt watching the movie. Whether it was intentional or not, it happened, and there it was, and it caught me off guard. I didn't even realize it was happening until they opened up that capsule, and there was that space chimp, and I was like, that's the whole reason I'm watching this. I mean, I know there's other reasons. It's a good movie, but that was pretty damn funny.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's see if we can keep the gag going some way. But so we did The Right Stuff and The Empire Strikes Back this week. Quite a fun watch. Two very long movie. Well, one very long movie and one also kind of long movie.
Back to the early 80s where it's the fallout of the long movies of the 70s still. We're still getting a few into the early 80s. Heaven's Gate hasn't made them stop budgeting these completely.
Right.
But by the time you get to The Right Stuff in 1983, we're back to that magical year of 1983, the most interesting year of the 80s, perhaps, where it's not quite the 80s we know from 1984. So there's a little bit of that last bit of the 70s, but more of
still the 80s coming on strong, right? Yeah. Like we're getting so much iconicness out of 81, 82, and 83. It's not even funny. But then 84 explodes, and you get you get the 80s.
And then when you look at 80 itself, you still get a nice bleak movie, kind of 70s-ish. But by 83, it's like, hey, this is a hopeful movie. Gee, I wonder if he's going to make it. The music swelling's indicating that everything's going to be okay.
Everything's going to be fine. It's all going to be okay. So, which one do you want to talk about first? Want to roll right into
No, let's do that one second. Let's do The Empire Strikes Back from 1980. We watched the non-retouched version.
Yes.
Which I don't think
the untouched version.
The special edition changes it as much as it does New Hope. But since any of these movies where you're adding scenes, like I said before, it's like throwing a bonus track in the middle of Sergeant Pepper's. It's changing the experience a little bit because it's
No, I
staggers
completely agree.
things.
No, it's like remastering the album. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's better. It sounds better, but it doesn't sound like it was originally intended, right? They've gone back and they've multi-tracked it and done
Mm-hmm.
this sort of thing. And this is the version I like, and you want to know why. You can see the mats of the starships in the star grounds, and that's the type of thing I was talking about when I talk about like, the opacity of the screen helps with that.
Yes.
That's specifically what that type of thing is, what I'm talking about, where you expect that the screen's going to be there to help, but then you get this thing onto a nice digital format and you're like, ooh. And the first thing I'll say about this
You could
movie,
see him on the VHS tapes back in the day,
yeah,
the mats. I
yep.
remember, look at those squares around the TIE fighter as a little kid. And we didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what it was, we were like 8.
Mm-hmm. But the first thing I'll say about these three movies is, and I've heard that this may actually be happening with Star Wars, is that
Mm.
these are in desperate need of a 4K release. A really good pass of the original negative, clean up, stay away from the AI upscaling of it, and get a nice 4K release. Because I'll tell you, the 4K project that put these out, those look pretty damn good.
But
And
but the
Disney needs to be
elements are
cashing in on that shit.
they supposedly chopped up the original elements to make the 1997 version, and it would be very expensive to recreate. You still can't tell me that you can't do it. There's some kind of weird legal thing, but the rumor for the 50th anniversary is they're coming, but I don't know anymore. It would be nice though
Mm-hmm.
to have these ones that we were used
Mm-hmm.
to be alongside. I mean, at least when they redid
I
the Star
like it.
Trek episodes, they gave us both versions on the Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
That's how you
Yeah.
do it. You
Yeah.
give us both.
Yep.
Where's
That's
both?
exactly it.
Oh,
Yep.
here's a non-anamorphic disc 2. Well, okay, it's the Laserdisc transfer, but at least it's the movie itself.
True.
And I will say this much about the Blu-ray release of Empire Strikes Back: interesting deleted scenes.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's
I
true.
don't know if you
Yeah.
watched
No,
those,
I did. I did. They were very good.
because we go back to the beginning of the movie, and it made me think, well, don't they know about Wampas that they're out there? Well, of course they do, because in the deleted scene, there's a Wampa attack in the beginning that looks so hokey. You can
Mm-hmm.
see why they cut it out, but it does explain that part in the trailer where 3PO rips a sign off a door, and you're like, what the fuck that's not in the movie. Ah, he's tricking snowtroopers into going through a door, and then a Wampa hand comes
Ah,
through the
yes.
door.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so they were fighting Wampas at the base, so they knew they were there the whole time, but that didn't work. Now, we all know that Mark Hamill got in that accident, right? And so they put the Wampa attack of him getting hit by it in the beginning so it would explain the scars on his face, why he looked fucked up. So does that mean that wasn't intended to start the movie originally? That was potentially a rewrite or exchange for the Wampa attack of Hoth,
I
I'm guessing?
I don't know.
Never
I
thought of it that way before, but analyzing the movies as we do for the show, it made me look at the structure of the movie a little different. And I think I still love the movie, but analyzing it, I'm realizing now that the Hoth part is probably the weaker part of the movie. It kind of meanders a little bit.
let me let me read the thingy here for the listeners real quick. So, Star Wars Episode 5: Empire Strikes Back, 1980, PG, 2 hours 4 minutes. I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
all of
I
you
just
know
fucking
this.
blazed right through that.
After the Empire overpowers the Rebel Alliance, Luke Skywalker begins training with Jedi Master Yoda, while Darth Vader and bounty hunter Boba Fett pursue his friends across the galaxy. Directed by Irvin Kershner, writers are Leigh Brackett, Lawrence Kasdan, and George Lucas. Storyline, real quick. Let's see here. Where did it go? The legendary saga continues as the Rebel Alliance faces increasing challenges from the mighty Galactic Empire. Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia Organa confront new trials that test their courage, friendship, and beliefs. The Rebel Alliance has established a hidden base on the icy planet of Hoth,
I say you
where
could have
they
just read the scroll.
hope to regroup and plan their first next moves against the Empire. Luke Skywalker receives a message from a familiar source prompting him to seek further guidance in understanding his connection to the Force. Han Solo and Princess Leia's journey take them on a dangerous path as they navigate a galaxy under Imperial control. Their actions and decisions lead to unforeseen consequences that will impact the fate of the rebellion. Meanwhile, the dark presence of Darth Vader looms as he relentlessly pursues the rebels while dealing with inner conflicts of his own.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
It's
So sorry. So just to jump that there. So yeah. So
it's like I like the
I,
AT-AT sequence, but it's kind of like starting the movie with the Death Star run. You go right to that big fight scene in the beginning. Yeah.
here's what I like about it. It's much like the beginning of Star Wars, right? It's the Empire on the ass of the rebels, right? Right from the beginning, Star Destroyer on a rebel blockade runner. Right from the beginning, chase scene, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the Empire is on them, and so Hoth kind of starts off, not really the same way, but you
You get
get a
the
build
probe
up
droid coming.
into, yeah, you get the probe droid coming, then here comes the Empire, then you get the landing, then you get the battle, then you get Darth Vader showing up, and so right away you're setting this chase in motion that runs across the galaxy, right? So I like that part of it. I think the Wampa part's just kind of friggin' weird. I always, even as a kid, was like,
Mm-hmm.
how did he melt his feet into the ice
It's
thing?
tacked on. Yeah.
And it feels tacked on, but like I especially like the snow speeder stuff and the AT-AT stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I love this. My early note on that is though is like, why would you fly your snow speeder directly at a fucking AT-AT? Why not take that shit at an angle, circle around, and come at it from the side or something?
Mm-hmm.
Because all you're trying to do is harpoon the thing so you can you know catch its legs up and make it fall over. Like why would you go straight at it? Why not come up from the rear or something? So anyway, but
Yeah.
I like the Hoss stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think the Tauntauns are dope. I love the stop motion work that they did with the Tauntauns. I think it looks really cool. I love
Mm-hmm.
the noise. I mean, we've been making that noise as kids, wow, wow, wows, ever since, right? So I, but I think you're right. It probably for the entire movie, it might be its weakest part. Part of Cloud City comes kind of close though,
Mm-hmm.
like because when we get to Cloud City, the movie kind of decides to kind of take a hot tub soak for a minute. Like
Mm-hmm.
it sort of slows down and kind of languishes for a minute as we bounce back and forth between Yoda, and then finally we get Luke heading towards Cloud City, and then things start to heat back up again. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
It makes you think, like, just analyzing it and breaking it down from a filmmaker perspective, like if that Wampa thing was like, we got to change this. Look, this Wampa attack isn't working anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
that would have happened right around the time that Darth Vader landed down there because it's Wampas attacking snow troopers. So it makes you wonder, were they intending to jump to the AT-AT battle quicker in the beginning? And instead we have this whole Luke's going to almost freeze to death
What if
section. But
well?
of
So
course,
what
where
if
do you
it's
get
the
your Dagobah information too? So,
what if it's the same Wampa, but Luke uses the Force to kind of do a different, like he doesn't use the Force to with like with the lightsaber. He uses the Force to get the Wampa to leave him alone, and then the Wampa shows up once the Imperials are on the ground and attacks them instead. How do we know it's multiple Wampas? Like could be just one abominable snowman, right?
oh, because I think I remember reading somewhere that it was supposed to be like they were getting attacked by Wampas all the time at the base.
Really? Oh, okay,
Problem,
okay.
and
Oh,
it
okay.
was like it was an issue for living there.
That's weird.
Kind of
Huh.
strangeness, yeah.
Well, I think
And
it go ahead.
Luke would have. I mean, Anakin killed all the fucking sand people. It's in his blood to have to kill that Wampa. He's angry and he's too old to begin the training.
Well, Hoff sets a whole new tone early
Mm-hmm.
in the film. This ain't the farm anymore.
Right.
This is rebellion against the government and intergalactic warfare. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they're on the run. That the Imperial any droid that works that the Imperials use always looks menacing as all hell.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it is, other than that little squeaky thing that Chewbacca screams at, like the weird droid that comes in with the shots for in Princess Leia in New Hope. You've got, the Imperial probe droids. All these droids just seem really menacing. They don't seem. It wasn't
Oh
like,
yeah.
C-3PO in a friggin' astromech.
I would say this movie would have been PG-13 if that rating had existed, but it didn't yet. But so we get this gross dark, because 80s uh version, like you're saying, all the Imperial robots are even more menacing. You're getting Luke put inside of the body of a dead animal to
That was
keep him
dope.
warm. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
morbid, weird shit going on in this one. Han being frozen, Darth Vader's head getting chopped off. Nobody took me to go see this movie as a kid.
Really?
And this maybe is what increased my fandom of it, because this was like the one that got away. I didn't see it till 85 on
Oh,
videotape
wow.
after school. We're like, we
Wow.
got the tape. Well, I'm going to stay after school and watch this shit. I need to piece this together, because I've been reading comics and trading cards and piecing the story together. But I was told that by my older sister Virginia, I didn't like it because I thought it was too dark. And now as an adult, I kind of understand where she was coming from, but it wouldn't have fucked me up. I wish somebody had taken. It's like not going to see the Two Towers or something. You need to see the dark entry, but you
Yeah,
go,
absolutely.
this got a lot of morbid, weird
Well,
elements.
it ends on a down note. It's like
Life is a series of
life is series of down notes. I was just about to say, you took it out of
Well,
my mouth. It's like Dante says.
is that why the next movie has
Yeah.
Ewoks? We got to lighten it up a little bit because it's 83.
I have a theory about that too,
They were
which
supposed to
which
be
which
Chewbacca's,
we'll
no,
get there,
Wookiees.
but
Chewbacca's.
I think it's definitely the darker of the movies. It's the one that sets you up for hopelessness, right? It's if it's all one big movie, this is the end of the second act, right? Where the heroes are as furthest from their goals as they're going to be, right? Because right as soon as Jedi starts, we're at Jabba's palace and we're getting Han Solo free and we're getting the band back together and we send Boba Fett down the mouth of the Sarlacc and then we run, go fighting the Empire, right? To go
He's
blow
going to
up
be
the new
living
Death
with
Star.
sand people soon.
So so yeah. So anyway, this is the end of Act Two, right? So it makes sense that it's the darkest, that it's the one with the most conflict, it's the most struggle. The Empire, they do a really good job of keeping the Empire on Han's ass for most of that movie. He can't get away. His hilariously, his hyperdrive doesn't work. It's not my fault is one of my favorite quotes of all time.
Well, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel that this is Han's movie.
Oh, I agree.
Like when he's not there, especially in the beginning, it's almost kind of dull.
Mm-hmm.
Like
A little
Luke
bit,
can't
yeah.
carry the movie by himself until Luke meets Yoda.
Right.
Then Luke's story starts to become interesting enough that Han can disappear for the last part of the movie, like Charles Grodin in Midnight Run, but yet we're still interested in the
Mm-hmm.
last 20 minutes because Luke's
Yeah.
story is finally kicked in.
Well,
But this is totally the Han Solo movie. And as much as I don't like Solo and those newer Star Wars movies, it makes me think they're just poorly made. They're poorly executed. Some of the ideas aren't bad.
some of the ideas are
And
fine.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting here going, fucking Lando is never supposed to meet Darth Vader. That's the fucking guy who's playing Sabacc losing his ship, and this is the fucking kid from Tatooine. And here's this fucking Mandalorian. We know more about him now. It's just whoever comes to this watching these in order and then the TV shows, their mind's going to be blown by the time you get to the hub that is Empire, because so many storylines are converging. Where in the
Converging.
past, we
Yeah.
didn't know all this stuff. And now I'm like, there's that fucking IG-88 droid, and
Yeah.
there's the Ugnaughts, and I got all this Mandalorian story in my head.
We get some Ugnaughts finally in this one. I love it.
And it's like Chewbacca knew Yoda from episode
Yeah.
3, and so
Yeah.
they're like
Well,
just
and
barely missing each other here.
R2D2 knew Yoda.
Well, R2D2's the whole fucking crux of the whole thing, to jump ahead a little bit here.
Well, do you prescribe to the theory that this is really three movies about two droids and how they traveled through the overturning of a galaxy of an imperial government of a galactic government, because I kind of do. The movies are really about these two fucking droids and the antics they get up in during the rebellion of a galactic empire.
Like I mentioned on the Star Wars episode that R2 is really, the through line
Yeah.
of the whole thing. And so I used to think that Luke fucked up in Empire Strikes Back by leaving early, and he screwed everything up, and now there's another, and that other is Rey, and she's got to fix everything. Why she would want to be a Skywalker is beyond me. Don't be a Skywalker. They're fucked up. They keep having so many problems. Just go be yourself, Rey, if you want to jump to the end of
I thought they were talking
9,
about. I thought they were talking about Leia.
well, that's what I used to think, but now all these other movies are stuck in my head, and I can't help but reinterpret everything.
I
But
still think they're talking
anyways,
about Leia.
well, that's part of the joke too, anyway. But anyways, I used to think Luke fucked the whole thing up by leaving early, right? And now the other is Leia and all that. But really, it's beyond Luke. It's bigger than Luke. R2-D2 had to be on Cloud City because he saved their ass twice. He opens the door and then he reactivates the hyperdrive. If he's not there, you're fucked.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Luke, all he does is get his hand cut off and has some dramatic moments with his dad and shit.
With his dad, yeah. It's
he
not a good
almost
family
dies.
reunion. Yeah, he meets
But
his dad and it does not
R2-D2,
go well.
yeah, I mean, R2D, it's all about R2-D2. And
Yeah.
why would it be R2-D2 that saves everything? Gee, who used to own R2-D2? Whose droid is that? That's the Queen's droid. That's the Queen's droid.
Well, that's true.
That's a droid
Yeah.
from Naboo.
That's
So
right.
Padme,
When C-3PO is Darth Vader's droid. Yeah.
right? Padme saves the day through R2-D2 and helps them escape. And then Darth Vader's just like, I'm so pissed. I don't even feel like killing anybody, because he must be having so many memories of the past at this point, because everything's starting to come to a head. Here's fucking Boba Fett again, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
When he saw his fucking Mace Windu chop the head off of Jango Fett, and it's just like, I can't help but think of all this shit now when I watch this movie. And even, like I said, even if I don't like those other movies, it just fills in so much.
Well, it's all part of the story. It's all part of the lore,
And I don't think he's wearing Han Solo's clothes. I think those are his clothes, and he got them back.
I
Lando
agree.
at the end,
So one of the things I thought about with the Tauntauns is it made me think of, like, even in the snow, it's a Western. It's like, this is the snow desert and this is a mother freaking space Western. So put them on horses. Well, we don't have horses. How about Tauntauns? Perfect. Have them riding around in Tauntauns. Go after it. You know what I mean?
People like movies where people are riding around on animals.
I love
a genre to it.
Yeah.
It's in the right stuff too. They're riding around on horses.
Yep. I like that the story immediately dives into the Han-and-Leia romance. I mean, that starts right from the beginning.
That's what it's all about. That's really the crux of the whole
It's
thing.
a major facet of this film. It is the will they, won't they, the back and forth, her kissing, Luke at one point, and, must have got her all riled up, all that stuff. He's just needling her. And then later on, when they're stuck in the asteroid together, it's some good stuff in there. It's really well written. You can tell there's some chemistry there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what my favorite scene is. It's either the asteroid scene where they realize that it's not a cave, or the X-wing being pulled out of the swamp. It's one of those two, I think. It's the best scene in the movie. This time,
Minox chewing on the power cables. So that's pretty good. This movie, even for as old as it still is a really excellent science fiction movie. It's still really, really well made. It holds up. It's paced well. That asteroid flight stuff is some of the best, most exhilarating stuff that you'll see in any sci-fi movie as far as space navigation goes. It's amazing. I love the whole idea of him turning around and attacking that ship and then suddenly just clamping onto it and they can't find him. He's such
Boba Fett knows that trick.
Boba Fett knows that trick, but the Imperials don't. They're fucking stupid, right? And so you get you get him using these old smuggler tricks and these old type of tricks to get away. I love that stuff.
They're about as dumb as the FBI agents in Hopscotch, another
Hmm.
1980 movie.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't know where he is. Han
Back to
Solo is Walter Matthau.
back to Hoth for a second. I love how Wedge takes down a walker, right? And goes, that got him, after he shoots him. And only for Luke to immediately ply with, yeah, I see it, Wedge. Good work. And it's almost a tone, like there's almost a tone there, like a dismissive tone of like, bitch, I blew the Death Star up. Like, fucking, it's just an AT-AT. Don't get over yourself. And it's like,
Right.
damn, farm boy, sure have come a ways there, haven't you?
And, watching the deleted scenes also
So
reveals
jealous.
that the funny thing about these Star Wars movies is, and it's also why they could never get it right after the first three, even though they've got nice approximations, is it was always one step away from being the holiday special. But sometimes the edits come together and it fits. But you look at some of that deleted material and you're like, oh,
yeah,
wow, they just pulled out the magic parts.
Yeah.
And so when you get a weird exchange like that between snowspeeder pilots, it probably, in my estimation, would probably be from the odd nature of the
the snow speeders have like the worst emergency exit systems ever. Like he crashes and he has to push up the canopy. Like there's no,
where's my explosive escape hatch?
Well, if I hit the latch on the back of my door, it opens up on my car. It goes brrr, and that's just a car. Like you don't have something for your fucking futuristic snow speeder that allows. You don't even have an ejection seat for a crash. Come on.
Yeah. They didn't argue with the engineers about how they were the pilots and they had to be respected.
You're right.
And they need a window and an escape hatch. And you know why?
Fucking
because
Bubba.
Benicio del Toro taught us in The Last Jedi, it's the same company making the ships for everybody, and they don't give a shit.
Let's see here.
Now they leave Hoth, and there's less than 90 minutes of the movie to go.
36 minutes to get off of Hoth. Mm-hmm. So that's your first act right there. Is that first 36 minutes,
and you meet Yoda at 47 minutes in.
Mm-hmm. Luke's a hot shot pilot, but he can't land his own X-wing. I mean, come on. When you're 8,
he of all places, he pinpointed right to where he was supposed to go.
Exactly.
That's just the Hoth being the Hoth. Mm-hmm. That's just the Force being a tractor beam.
The Hasselhoff.
The Hoth. Use the Hoth Force.
Spitting out the spitting out R2-D2 from the swamp and flying. I mean, when you're a kid, when you're 8, that's the height of hilarity.
Spitting's a good trick.
Like that's the height of hilarity. It's the greatest thing ever.
I wouldn't know, as I did not see the film until I was 11.
I remember we were there, my buddy and I were there second week it was opening. And this is back when they would line you up outside the movie theater and you would just wait for the people to come out and then you would wait and they would let you go in. And we were like first or second in line, I can't remember, and we're waiting for the movie and it's like, how much time is left? And I snuck over and peeked through the crack and I saw Luke and Darth Vader fighting and I was like, oh, Luke and Darth Vader are going to fight. And he's like, my friend's like, no way. It's like, oh my God, come on. It was, and that's the other thing I'll say also. Freezing Han and Carbonite was a big thing because you didn't know that he was going to get unfrozen. Mm-hmm. Like you thought that's just was Han Solo's now basically kind of dead.
He's perfectly in
yeah. I mean, obviously the thing was going to be to go get him, but like, was that going to be the whole story? How much of the film was, Han Solo going to be? Because Han Solo is the most popular, in my opinion, character in the franchise, the early franchise, other than Darth Vader, of course.
And it's a fight between Luke and Darth Vader, but Darth Vader's just taking it easy on him because he really just wants to capture him and take him to the Emperor.
Well,
But then he starts getting cocky, and he's like, "Well, then I'm just going to have to cut your hand off." And
well, he knows it's his kid. It's like he don't want to kill. You know, he doesn't want to kill his kid, and he's had his hand cut off, so it's just kind of like a father son thing.
he told him, like, let's go just destroy the Emperor and end this destructive conflict. I'm
Yep.
tired, Luke.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's Anakin coming back through already is a possible interpretation there.
So then we get to Hoth, or we get to Dagobah, and we get Luke and Yoda, and this is the real question. This is the question that we have to answer. Should they have cast Yoda as a human and put makeup on him? Or should they have gone with the puppet? Because I truly believe that the Yoda puppet directly leads to Ewoks, which directly leads to Jar Jar Binks, which directly leads to the downfall of society and Star Wars in general.
Well, that's true, but I mean, we already had Chewie, so they were coming whether we liked it or not.
I
We had all the
guess.
creatures in the Cantina bar, so they probably still would have given us some sort of Muppets in Return of the Jedi. But I know what you mean. But Yoda puppets, or animatronic or whatever he is, the bots on MST could never quite figure out if he was a puppet or a costume or.
Yeah.
He's like, it's an iconic character, and
Sure.
maybe they would have
Absolutely.
fucked the whole thing up if Yoda had been a person, like Jabba the Hutt was a guy.
Yeah.
Deleted
Exactly.
scenes.
Exactly.
What if
Exactly.
Yoda was a person and everybody else was a puppet? Then it's like the
Exactly.
Dark Crystal, kind of.
Well, and I recognize that this is really, especially for its time, advanced puppetry. Like it's really, really excellent work.
Yeah, they do a good job with Yoda
They
on
do
that.
they do a fantastic job with Yoda, and it gets even better in Revenge and stuff like that, or Return of the Jedi. But it just, I can't help but thinking like, oh man, if we had gone with I don't know, a human again with makeup on, maybe we would have avoided Ewoks,
Yeah, but it
and
was
that would have been really fucking
1983,
awesome.
as we're about to discuss, 1983, and it just wasn't the bleak 70s anymore. Everything had to be more hopeful, and it was the time of the fucking Ewoks and the Smurfs and the Muppet Babies. But I mean, I regret that Jim Henson died and he only gave us Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, because I think he would have done so much more that
Yeah, I
those would have been
agree.
footnotes, and now
Yeah.
they're the only ones, and so everybody latches onto them so much. I'm like, look, they
Mhm.
were okay and they're
Oh, they have.
groundbreaking,
Those things have massive,
but
massive followings. I mean,
I've seen Labyrinth so much since like literally the day it came out on videotape that I'm good. I'm good.
Dark Crystal's the one for me where I'm like, I remember the last time I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this a bunch. Like, I don't need to see it again, but it's really
Hmm.
good.
It's good, but
It's
it's like,
creepy as hell.
yeah.
It's
Hmm.
awesome. It's really creepy as hell.
Yeah, and that was like 82 and creepy. But then you get to 83 and it's Ewoks. But whenever we get to Jedi, I guess we'll talk about how it was supposed to be Wookiees, but they couldn't afford it, so they did Ewoks. But then we get the Wookiee planet in episode 3 anyway, where
Yeah,
Yoda knows Chewbacca.
right.
So what the fuck?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, but we don't ever get to see Chewbacca and Yoda together. So
In episode 3?
no, but I'm in
Afterward.
Empire. In Empire, yeah. In Empire.
Yeah, they are pretty close, though. Instead, they're running around with Anakin's old droid. And there's Yoda looking at R2D2 going, now, if this fucking droid is here,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
some shit
yeah.
going on.
Something's going on. Yeah,
This thing
exactly.
should not be here at my fucking hideaway
This should not
place.
be at my house.
Last
How
time
did
I
you get
saw this
here?
fucking droid, it was with Obi-Wan back
Yeah.
in the Clone Wars. I don't want to see this thing again.
It's also the same way in Star Wars, where Obi-Wan's like, how in the fuck did this fucking droid find
Mm-hmm.
me?
Or maybe there were in between stories like the Obi-Wan TV show that I still haven't watched all the way, but I feel like it takes place in between. So when Darth Vader says things like
It
Obi-Wan cannot
does.
protect him now, you go, is he talking about that TV show?
It does.
Because other shit happened in between.
Apology accepted, Captain Neater.
This is pretty fucking bad when this fucking guy from Naboo who fucking became the Emperor is showing up and fucking Lando Calrissian get involved in this shit. And the fact that Lando and Chewie are like the only ones that live through all of this crap. It's so weird. I'm not gonna get off on a tangent on that, but that's just it makes sense in a way, but it's also very weird. It's very weird. But it's dark.
I think the film
Empire, where it
moves.
all springs from, Empire.
I think the film moves pretty effortlessly back and forth between the storylines. It picks the right moments to jump from Luke to Han to Darth Vader, back again,
Mm-hmm.
Cloud City.
Yeah.
You know, the pacing of it, the editing choices are really, really well done. I don't know if this is his wife again, but really, really well done.
Yeah.
Lucas bankrolled this himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't want to go to a major studio, so he just used his Star Wars profits and got a bank loan and spent $30 million making this fucking movie. It
Mm-hmm.
was really impressive.
And the special edition doesn't really change the pacing too much. There's a few extra things. I think there's maybe like a little more Darth Vader loop space zooming or
Mm-hmm.
whatever they're doing. But most of it is just stuff like changing the fly up to Cloud City or
Yeah.
painting in the windows at Cloud City type stuff. But I still
Well,
prefer the original.
Cloud City to me is the one that feels the most like a set. Like out of them all, like Hoth, the interior Hoth stuff definitely has a feeling of set to it, but Cloud City just screams like we're in the studio. Like it just has this weird. Maybe it's because it's got the most 70s aesthetic to it of everything else in the film. Like it just has that weird sort of rounded 70s aesthetic. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the old rounded TVs, the rounded chairs, all that stuff from the 70s. Cloud City kind of feels like that a bit, so it just feels more like a set. I don't know.
Cloud City is very 70s.
Um, but it just out of them all, it does. I don't know. I don't know
Colt
how else to put it.
45 works every
Yeah,
time.
Colt 45 works every fucking Lando.
So I'm sure Reels is like, well, why didn't you bring all this information when you talked about that? Was just the ramp up, guys.
It was
Sorry.
just that's right. Boba Fett is barely in this freaking movie, yet as soon as this movie came out, he was iconic.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a testament to Lucas's storytelling ability and his kind of ability to create worlds and characters like fucking Indiana Jones and all this, these amazing characters and stories that this guy's been creating over the years. It's really, I mean, and these characters just keep popping up throughout this timeline of these first three movies where it's like, oh, because you have whole stories about Rogue Squadron and Wedge Antilles, and then you have the Shadows of the Empire, and then then it just keeps running. It just keeps going, books after books after books, and all these different characters popping up, prequels with all those different Jedi, and there are people who know who all those people are. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you create an iconic looking character and people jump all over it. It's something
Mm-hmm.
I don't completely understand, but if you make a good mask, people are all over it.
Yep.
And I see what to me is a relatively new phenomenon where people judge the quality of Halloween movies on if they like the look of Michael Myers' mask or not. Like it'll make or break the whole movie for them. And I'd never back in the day, it was just like that's just the part 4 mask. That's just the part 5. I never gave it a second fucking thought. But apparently people obsess about it consistently. So, they
Fascinating.
saw that Boba Fett and they went, love it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the people that dress up like stormtroopers
Yeah.
and now we
Yep.
know so much more about Mandalorians. It's
So much more.
it 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 changes Empire Strikes Back when you've watched 11 Star Wars movies, not counting the Clone Wars cartoon. It's weird to think, isn't it? 11 Star Wars movies.
Yep. Let's see. I think that's about the only other thing I have to say is, oh well, I have so my one of my favorite moments in this movie is when Vader is using the Force to beat Luke up with stuff. He's just chunking shit at him using the Force.
Just having
At
a
one
fun time.
Yeah, at one point he throws they throw a TV at Luke Skywalker. They just throw a TV at Mark Hamill. It's a whole ass black and white TV, and which makes me laugh every time I see it. I laugh. I'm like, yeah. Um, and Vader's just he kind of looks like it's kind of a bitch move not to sword fight him, by throwing stuff at him. That's kind of a bitch move, but I get it. He's not really trying to kill the kid. He's
He's
just
trying to freeze him.
trying to freeze him.
All too easy.
But it's a great movie. It's again, it's an excellent follow up. I think, like I said in my argument on Reels, Star Wars was kind of the promise of this universe, and then Empire is sort of the fulfillment of that promise, the payoff of that great start.
Yeah, they're about equal in my mind, but
Mm-hmm.
over the years, I still give the edge to the first one now because
Mm-hmm.
it's just so perfecto throughout, and it birthed everything, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
unique. But then you get to this one, and this one is where everything launches from.
Yeah, this is the
But
one I
you
love.
do have whiny ass Luke on Hoth to bring it
Yeah,
down just a
true,
little bit.
true, true.
So,
This is reminds me of
but you need that character though.
it reminds me of the Alien versus Aliens debate. Which one do you like better? And when they're both just really
We haven't even
quality.
done those yet.
No, but they're both really quality pictures.
Of course.
Yeah.
And one of them has Lance Henriksen, which is a segue.
Okay.
Oh, what do you give it?
I give this 5 stars.
Yeah, of course. This is 5. I mean, we knew that going in.
It's I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but I think it's pretty close, and what it's birthed and what it's inspired, and what Lucas went on to do with ILM and all the things that were born out of this trilogy are changed the face of filmmaking and opened the door for a lot of people. And
oh yeah.
So I just 5 stars all day long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people who dismiss Star Wars as completely kids content. Well, you could say that about some of the movies, but if you watch this one, you can see this is a point where they were clearly trying to reach all audiences. It's not just a kids movie. This one,
absolutely. Yeah. This is the one that
Return of the Jedi. We'll see.
This is the one that your older brother or sister would have taken you to and enjoyed, also.
Mm-hmm.
Or possibly even your mom or dad. But yeah, so 5 stars for that, and that moves us into
that didn't happen to me. My older sister did not take me to the film because she didn't like it that much.
My mom, my mom was the best. My mom was the kind of person that was like, here's $10, go to the movies, leave me alone.
Well,
or she'd put me in a different theater and she'd go see something else.
During 80, 81, 82, we were moving a lot, so there was no time to go see a movie. So that's probably why I didn't see a lot of stuff until we get back around to like E.T. Then I saw Jedi, and they were like, "You didn't see Empire?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's fine. I can figure out what's going on. Just let me watch it." Happy to be here.
Back when you were on the run from the law.
So, first there was Night Riders, and then there was Creepshow, and then there was The Right Stuff, and Ed Harris was off to the races. What is The Right Stuff from 1983? Yes, he did a couple other things there, but that's really how his career kind of got started as an actor.
The Right Stuff. 1983 PG, 3 hours and 13 minutes. 3 hours and 13 minutes. Yes, PG.
There's multiple F-bombs in this movie. It's like Poseidon Adventure. We found another one that's PG, and they say fuck more than like 3 times.
The U.S. space program's development, from the breaking of the sound barrier to selection of the Mercury 7 astronauts from a group of test pilots with a more seat-of-the-pants approach than the program's more cautious engineers preferred. This is directed and written by Philip Kaufman, written by Kaufman and Tom Wolfe. It stars an unbelievably crazy cast that we'll get into later. That was your log line. Here's your storyline.
Terrible log line.
Tom Wolfe's book it was pretty bad. Tom Wolfe's book on the history of the U.S. space program reads like a novel, and the film has that same fictional quality. It covers the breaking of the sound barrier by Chuck Yeager all the way to the Mercury 7 astronauts, showing that no one had a clue how to run a space program or how to select people in it. Thrilling, funny, charming, and electrifying all at once.
Now, I feel that the reason this movie gets away with multiple F-bombs is because the movie itself the tone isn't that. And it's more historically important, kind of like, look, 8-year-old kid, if you can sit through 3 hours and 13 minutes, you can hear a couple F-bombs. It ain't going to hurt you. The rest of the movie will dull that right out of your brain. It's not salacious, is what I mean.
Right.
There's nothing adult content in it, so why give it an R?
The most salacious part of the movie is the fan dance at the end.
Oh God, we can't start with that. Okay, that's one of the weirdest fucking endings of any movie ever, and you never hear anybody talk about it. You think that would be a meme of what the fuck moment, but I think it's reserved for people who sit through the whole thing. And it's like, hey, you made it through the whole length. We're going to do one of the weirdest juxtapositions with no real explanation. I'm still not sure what Chuck Yeager did at the end. Did he break a record there at the end when he spun out? Or
he broke the altitude record at the
okay,
end.
that makes sense then, because I figured it was something like that. Like it wraps around, but the juxtaposition. But like I was telling you earlier, it's like Starfighters, that MST movie from the early 60s, because it's these jet fighter pilots in the early 60s, and that fan dance thing is totally the aesthetic of something they would have gone and seen. But does it fit the movie? I don't know. That was the moment where I was just like, it's not quite like the Brown Bunny where you get to the end and there's that blowjob scene and then you go, what did the movie just say? Just trying to see if you were still paying attention. But I feel like maybe it was one of those,
So
intentional fallacy, I'm sure.
So Sally Rand is who that was. She was an American burlesque dancer, and she was famous for her ostrich feather fan dance, also a balloon bubble dance. I mean,
they're just cramming a bunch more exposition of real events, right?
Well, she was part of a troupe that traveled around the Midwest playing at state fairs and small theaters in the 50s at this point. And this is in the 50s at this point, or actually late 50s, so in early 60s. So it makes sense that they would pluck her, and especially the tour was across Oklahoma and Texas. And where the fuck is Lyndon Johnson from? He's from Texas.
Of course.
Where is Cape Canaveral? It's in Houston.
But does its tonality fit the rest of the movie? Even if
I feel like it does. I feel like it's probably historically accurate that he actually did that. He had her down, and they had this big barbecue, because one of the things that Johnson wants to do, and he says it even during that scene, is, "Look what I brought y'all." He wants to bring these astronauts down so all his constituents can shake their friggin' hands, and he can be, because he tries it early on, getting into Mrs. Glenn's house to talk to her during the launch, right, and she won't have him. She won't have him in the house because she's got a stutter, right, and he gets all pissed off, and then, oh well, okay, I'll console her now that he's up there and he may die. He's desperate to get on camera with her. He's desperate to, so I think it tonally fits.
I mean, I understand how it does, and it's historically accurate, but sometimes historically accurate isn't the best thing for a narrative structure. But of course, they didn't make long-form TV back then, so how else are you going to make this story large and long? But
this would have been a great 8-part miniseries,
right? But one of my notes was, it's like there's such an odd structure because of the reality of it, and I'm glad that they do loop it back to Yeager, so it at least bookends. But the main characters, by the time you get, what did I write? The main.
Talk into your microphone.
Well, I want to say something important before I do. Oh, the main characters of the movie, by the middle of the movie, they weren't even in the first 45 minutes of the movie.
Oh, that's very true.
And so part of me goes, "Who are you? Where's the other guy?" But I understand what they're doing, but it's
Mhm.
just constant exposition and not enough character development to
It's
where I don't really get to know anybody too much. And you know some of them early, but then these other ones come in, and it's
yeah,
like, well, I
yeah,
know you're a big deal, but I don't know
yeah.
your backstory. But it's biopics, right? And
She
even at
well,
3 hours and 12 minutes, they still can't cram
yeah,
it
they can't get it all
all
in.
in.
I mean, well, you're talking about probably one of the most productive eras of human ingenuity, of American ingenuity. I mean, so much stuff has come out of NASA and out of the space program and out of what we learned and what we figured out how to do, including going to the moon and coming back, all that shit, you
Mhm.
know.
And it's a
Um,
movie about the people who didn't even make it first. Its narrative
exactly.
structure is slanted to the United States. Does this movie play outside of this country? Would the real story be, like, about the Russian who made it into space first? That's probably an interesting
Well, I
story.
mean, we weren't first, but we were there definitely longest, and we've been there earlier and longest for sure.
And also
But
well,
yeah,
yeah, I know. I'm just making
it's
a structural
I do
point
love
about
that. I do love that it's like when they launched Sputnik, the imagery, like the when Sputnik, you know, because when the film cuts at that one point and it's just suddenly like the Russian flag and laughing and flames going, and then the guy's running down the hallway. He's like, they call it Sputnik. He's like, yeah, yeah, we know. Get in here. I really like that imagery. I think it's really
it.
fucking
It flows
cool.
better than Oppenheimer as far as that type of
I
delivering
completely agree with
exposition.
that.
Yeah. But to my earlier point, it's like, was Ed Harris and, what's the other guy's name? Scott Glenn? Was he
Scott Glenn. Yeah.
were there real life characters completely unimportant to the beginning structure of all this to where we don't see them in the first 45 minutes of the movie in their own lives before?
Well, Scott, yes, because
Or then you have
Scott
a
Glenn's a
5-hour
Marine
movie?
pilot. Yeah. Well, Scott, if you want to go and well, I mean, look, if you
That's
want
what
to
I'm
do
saying
like
structurally, because 'cause they're so important, but they don't arrive until an hour in.
well, that's because the really what the movie is about is not about them. It's about the story of space
Mhm.
flight in America, right? And
Exactly.
so you have to start adding the pieces on as you get to those time
Mhm.
periods. Otherwise, like you said, you're doing you're doing sorcerer and you're spending an hour telling these showing up how these
Mhm.
four guys get
And
to
you
the
can't do
town to
that
get to the
anymore because it's
trucks.
the '80s now.
It's the
Mhm.
80s and even if you did, you'd still have 3 hours of space flight story to tell. So now the movie's 4 hours long,
Well,
right?
could the
So
movie have started right as soon as the, space team is being
it's
assembled? Do we genuinely need the sound barrier stuff? It almost feels like 2 or 3 movies in one.
well,
I
it's
understand why it's there, but could it work without it?
I think so, but I think that then you're telling a story about these astronauts and you're not telling a story about the story of American spaceflight because you start with Yeager and trying to break the sound barrier. Once you get the sound barrier broken, then you start to it starts to grow exponentially from there. And now you're talking about building bigger rockets, and now you've got test stuff going all over the place, and so on and so forth. Right? It begins to build into NASA and
Mhm.
what they're doing.
But as far
So
as, like, a character, human
that's when
structured
all the
story,
pilots show up.
yeah, you have a movie that's bookended with Yeager's experiences pretty much because he kinda goes away in the
Right.
middle, and it's like, well, what if you
Right.
just made a Yeager movie and you made a
Mhm,
astronaut movie,
mhm.
and then you could spend more time on both
Well,
stories instead of
yeah,
trying to cram them all into one
yeah.
where it feels like I almost felt like there should have been a third to it where a new group comes in for the last hour and we see their story, so we get split into thirds. But at least Yeager comes back around to the end because I was like, these new guys come in halfway through that aren't developed in the beginning because they weren't part of the story yet, but we stay with them for the rest of the movie. But at least Yeager does come back, though, but not a whole lot, though. I still like the movie, but I thought it was just bizarre with its
I think we
structure.
develop them as we go.
Mhm.
You
I'm
know, we
still
start
left going, I don't really know who anybody
I,
was, you know?
I like how we start dropping him in where Scott Glenn's kind of a card. He likes Jose Jimenez. You know that John. You know that you know that Ed Harris's character is kind of a Boy Scout. So Scott Carpenter, he's a Boy Scout. Those two guys are always trying to out Boy Scout each other. And then you've got, the one that to me, there's a couple of others. The movie again, it's has so much to talk about that it can't even cover all of its own
I
astronauts
know.
because
I know.
you don't even get to fucking hear from Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, he's a
He's an
background.
astronaut in this friggin' movie playing an
Yeah.
astronaut, and he never.
Well, that's
And mainly, I think that's mainly because those guys didn't go up into space
yeah, and you
like
can't
the others
tell
did.
life stories in
You know,
a short movie. It's so hard to cram it all in. They do a good job, but it is difficult to cram it all in there. I mean, I feel like we end up knowing them as well as any of the pilots in Top Gun Maverick. You know, oh, you're this attitude, you're this guy, you're a wild card. You know.
I definitely agree though that it feels a little disjointed. Like you do have this longer Chuck Yeager story where uh it starts with the voice of Levon Helm, and I swear to God, as a kid, I only ever associated that voice to this movie, and then we last watched The Last Waltz and
Hmm.
did reviewed a few, and I'm like, holy shit, it's that guy because I'm not a fan of the band either, but it was really crazy to kind of like, oh, that's weird, and then to hear him go, the Damon lived at Mach 1 on the Mater, you know, you go, holy Jesus, he's got such a true Southern voice, right? Like you could see him getting his SAG card and going right to Hollywood and getting to work. Uh, I found the synth score at times a little challenging. I love the historical footage they worked in. You know, I love that use of the old man in the suit as kind of like death. He's just showing up, you know, announcing people's, you know, and then he's the worst singer on the face of the planet at the same time as he's putting people on the ground. It's just
Hmm.
it's a very weird first 45 minutes. Like it's very weird. And then once we break the sound barrier and we get past all that, suddenly these hotshot pilots start showing up and we start getting into the meat of the movie,
Yeah.
trying to find people who actually want to be an astronaut,
Now
you know?
imagine a movie starting there.
Yeah. I
It's
hear you. I hear
exciting,
you.
right?
Maybe, but maybe not. I mean, it depends on what movie you're trying to tell.
I think
Again,
it'd be the same movie.
I think this movie is trying to cover the idea of like how
Well,
space
I
flight got
understand that,
started,
yeah.
right?
But as far as like,
But this is what you're talking about is much more character driven, which I would be very interested to watch. Honestly, I would. But then now,
unfortunately, you lose the Jaeger stuff, which I do
if you
like that. But it's
if you take all most of the Jaeger stuff out, what do you think? You've got about a 2 hour and 20 minute
you get
movie,
a more
30 minute movie,
concise film that's probably got a better pace to it.
but you could bloat it back out to 3:15 again with 45 minutes of character development, like you're talking about, getting to know more about these
Yeah, it
guys.
might be a
You know,
little richer, because they're going into space and you care more about them. But this like the music swells and it's going to be okay.
mm-hmm.
They're going to. You see the date come up. A record's
Mm-hmm.
about to be broken.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's historical. If you know the story going in, you're probably like, you love it because you know all the ins and outs. But if you're like me and you kind of know a little bit, you're left
Mhm.
going, oh, it was just a surface level of
Well,
what
that's
happened.
and
I don't know the rest of the
that's a
story
lot
yet.
of it. Is I
But
mean,
that's biopic.
that's what I like about it is that it's not stopping to explain everything to you. It is
Mhm.
explaining different small things that you need to know, but it's not, because otherwise we'd be mired in it for a while.
Mhm.
One of my favorite scenes is the scene with where all the wives are talking. You know what I mean? And the pilots are all outside grilling hot dogs, and he's holding up that hot dog that's burning. And they're all talking about what assholes men are. I enjoy that scene quite a bit.
There's parts early on where it feels like they're trying really hard to be Lawrence of Arabia like he's taking that drink and you close up and you see the other shot dissolve into it. I'm like, that's trying to be like the match that he's holding. I'm like, come on, guys, just and
Well,
they
it's a match cut, yeah.
and then they stop doing that once you get into the
Mm-hmm.
training. Like stylistically, it switches from that. I think I Only Have Eyes for You must be the cheapest song from the early 60s to license because we've heard it in at least two other films. One of them was Heart Like a Wheel, and I can't remember what the other one was, if there even was another, but I just feel like, Hollywood Nights. Like
Yeah.
it's always there.
So,
So now we know we can probably afford that if we make a movie set in 1962.
so real quick, I want to run down this cast. So, Sam Shepard, who was a playwright darling and pretty popular during the early '80s. Scott Glenn, Ed Harris, Dennis Quaid, Fred Ward, Barbara Hershey, Kim Stanley, Veronica Cartwright, Pamela Reed, Scott Paulin, Charles Frank, Lance Henriksen, Donald Moffat playing Lyndon B. Johnson, Levon Helm, Scott Wilson playing Scott Crossfield, Mary Jo Deschanel, the mother of the Deschanel girls, Kathy Baker. It's a killer cast.
Yeah, we got Aliens, and Twin Peaks people in the cast.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's an absolutely stunning cast of just excellent actors. Everybody, all these actors continue to work throughout the 80s and into the 90s, and probably a lot of them still do.
And you can still see Ed Harris does have a little bit of his Knight Rider's character in him in this movie with his stalwartness, and he's just the king of space this time. So this is 3 hours and 12 minutes, 3 hours and 13 minutes if you look at some places. It's the longest movie we've covered to date, I think. And people talk about Return of the King and things like that being quite long, but any movie that goes over 3 hours and like 10 minutes really should have a real solid reason for being that long. But it's so subjective, and I mean, you can't have 3 hours and 15 minutes of constant on your seat action. That would be fucking exhausting as fuck. But at the same time, I don't want to mire so long and stretching things out to where sometimes in this movie I'm like, just go to space. Just shoot off into space and do your thing. I don't need to see the... It's like you're stretching on this conflict when there's so many other stories to tell, but once again, that's a biopic for you. There's so many limitations of those things. But any movie that's incredibly long, right? It's almost like a different type of discussion because you're stretching the art form out so much. It's almost like, is it a movie anymore? Well, it is, but it's a different type of movie.
I still think I still think it's a movie. It's a
Well, it
yeah.
is. But
I still think it's a movie.
It's not like a movie that's an hour and 10 minutes, right? It takes on a whole different life. You've lived with characters for like longer than 2.5 hours, and then it really starts to... It's almost like a binge watch of a TV show or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
think
can do a lot more with it, right? You can be more invested, I think.
I think so. I mean, you've got, you've got, like we talked about, Oppenheimer and some of these other, Killers of the Flower Moon and some
How
of these
long
other
is
movies.
that one?
Oppenheimer,
No,
Killers of the Flower
Killers.
Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon's I think about the same length, if I'm not mistaken. I can look it up for you.
Because I know
quick,
Oppenheimer was like, what, 245? A lot of these things top out around that. They don't go... They hit the 3, but they're not like The People in the Right Stuff where, no, we're going to keep going and break...
No, Killers was almost 3.5 hours, bro. And The Irishman, The Irishman.
Oh, yeah. See, those are more examples of... I haven't seen them, but do they warrant their length?
The Irishman was 3.5 hours, right? So you get into these, and look, if you're telling these 5-act movies,
well, you should have an intermission, at least, right?
You should have an intermission. Yeah, you should have an intermission. This was what I was getting to. It was like, I remember seeing Patton in the theater as a kid. I couldn't understand what the hell was going on because that was not the movie I should have been seeing. I think it was a later release, but there was an intermission. And these movies should have them. When I saw Lawrence in the theater this last time, they had an intermission. I got up, went to the bathroom, got a drink, came back, sat back down. So, and from what I understand, The Right Stuff had one in the theater. They just didn't put it in the video. I don't know why. That seems weird, but hey, there you go. I don't make those decisions. Some of my favorite quotes are, "Our Germans are better than their Germans." And I, for one, do not intend to go to the sleep by the light of a communist moon. Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson, he's a real treasure trove in this film of just kind of goofy government, And Poncho's Happy Bottom Riding Club. That's a real interesting place for
proto Forrest Gumping.
Proto Forrest Gumping. True.
Putting them into clever edited shots of JFK to make it look like they're in the historical footage. But it is funny when you intercut Dennis Quaid making goofy faces in between the old footage. And you're like, you just can't help but laugh because you're like, look, I know what you're doing, but that's hilariously out of place, you know.
I kind of like that he keeps trying to mess with that nurse, and she's finally just like, "I want to meet your wife," and he's like, "Why?" She's like, "Because I want to meet your wife. Get her here tomorrow." And look, if I show up into an office and you stick a massive needle into my hand and go, "Don't worry about it," and then turn on some electrical current, which forces my hand to like convulse and seize like crazy, and then I have to pick it up and carry it away. I'm gonna punch you in your face. I swear. I don't know.
And then they
Don't tell me.
actually
Don't.
got to go to the moon in
Yeah.
outer space.
Don't tell
So
me that.
what are you worried about something you would get at the grocery store? That's all I'm going to say about it. You can cut that out if you want.
Bunch of fighter pilots jerking off in stalls next to each other,
What
humming the
was
wild,
that?
humming
That's
the
another
wild
one
blue
of the.
yonder.
Oh God, that's even almost stranger than the fan
it's
dance at the end, where it's
it's a
like,
patriotic choice. I get it, but
and you still get the PG. And I know nobody out there knows Fred TV, but you remember the dueling farts under the.
yes,
I'm thinking, were
yes.
they inspired by the right stuff? Did I just
That
not
wouldn't
realize? I
surprise
just
me at all.
saw that
Stop,
movie.
stop singing. All right, that's it. Oh my god.
You know, I've never seen this movie before. I'd seen pieces,
Really? Okay.
and I realized as a kid, there's no way in hell I could have sat there and watched this whole thing. It wouldn't have made sense to me. And it
Uh-huh.
was too adult and too
Yeah.
slow.
I, I I remember as a kid, I caught it later on cable, and probably it had to have been 85 or 86 at that
Yeah.
point. So I was 12 or 13, and I was really into like the military and aviation and all that type of stuff. And so I knew enough about this that I could follow it. But even as a kid, when I tried to watch it, I remember the beginning and a lot of that stuff being very vague and
It's
weird and hard
dry.
to follow.
It's very
Yeah,
dry.
at times,
I
yes.
remember the ending of it, I think, more than anything from the past. But then I would go on to watch things like Space Camp. So
Yeah, yeah, Space Camp. That's part of this. Yeah, the whole enema scene is just weird.
oh my God, that's another bizarre thing. In the PG, that's probably would have got a PG-13 a few years
Possibly,
later. Yeah.
possibly.
But once again, I'm like, hey, if you're a kid and you manage to sit through this whole thing, you're allowed a few F-bombs, an enema joke, a masturbation scene, and a fan dance. Not unlike Star Trek V.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think the film is kind of masterful in moving time.
I thought you were going to say masturbating.
No, masterful in moving time. It moves through time very easily and very well. It tells you where it is pretty quickly, and it changes scenery well. And I there the rocket building sequence, for instance, where they're just showing the rockets getting built, that whole thing, moving through these different periods of getting things to the point where they can actually start sending people up into the. It's awesome. The look on their astronauts' faces are priceless as these things are blowing up and all these things are because they're gonna have to get in, get into a capsule on one of these damn things.
Mm-hmm.
I
Capsule.
also love how Glenn is like the Boy Scout model American, yet he's the one with the sort of uh, media savvy. He starts talking because they're at that press conference, and he starts talking to the reporters about how his wife backs him, and if he wants to be if he wants to be an astronaut, and his kids do too, and God bless America and all that shit. And then Gordo jumps right in and realizes what he's doing. He's like, yeah, and starts piling on. I thought that's a lot of fun. The Chebby Checker version of La Bamba is the worst fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I recommend that none of you other than this movie ever hear it again.
Right up there with the lounge singer and hopscotch.
It's yeah, yeah. It's not good. It's like how a white person parses a foreign language because he's just taba da bamba and you're doing la bamba and you move your hips and you're doing la bamba. It's
Well,
like,
you know,
oh my fucking
it
god, dude.
thematically does fit into the super white nature of
Yes,
the film, and the
very
movie even
much.
hints on that too, where one guy's like, yeah, you're not funny with your Jose Jimenez thing, and then he has to
Yes.
kind of pay for it later when the guy's taking
Mhm.
care of him.
Yeah. No, you're very, very true. And to be fair, covering a famous tune back then was, I mean, that's what,
Well, par for the course, so it all kind of blends in.
but it's terrible.
Bad
I
song,
wouldn't.
good
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, I remember the Russians were kicking our asses in the space race. And I remember that actually meaning something as a kid. Like that
Hmm.
was a big deal. And now, Elon uses rockets to launch his fucking satellite junk into space. Like
Hmm.
it's so like
Yeah,
from what it used to be and
the
how
wrong stuff.
important it was when the space shuttles were going up, and now it's gone from the right stuff to the wrong stuff. You just nailed
Mhm.
it. Yeah, exactly.
That if the movie had been thirds, then it would have been like that. The people in the late '70s, early '80s, their story with the shuttles to complete the
I
movie.
Yeah, I mean I guess it's our first astronaut we sent up was laying in a pile of his own piss, so I guess it's not that
Mhm.
much of the
Pooping
right
suit,
stuff.
just like in Starfighters.
Yeah, poop and
They
suit.
address it in that movie where they're up there so long. What are you going to do?
Ah. The practical effects of this movie are top notch.
Hmm.
It's a really, barring the structure of it and the length or whatever, it's a very well made movie. It looks good, sounds good. I like the way it moves. I like what it's doing for the most part. It's definitely, while it was weird in parts, it kept my interest when it was moving correctly.
Right. It does. It always picks itself back up and keeps going.
Uh huh.
It does linger a bit sometimes, I think. And he's given that press speech, and I'm thinking, oh, look, I know who you are, who you're supposed to be, but you're a new character. I don't know you yet. And also, when Fred Ward's talking about the hatch blew up and his wife's trying to console him, and I understand it, but I'm also going, who are you again? You weren't in the beginning of the movie. So your character is still new enough to where you're giving it the dramatic arc, but to me, structurally, that belongs to somebody who was in Act One. But it's a long movie also, so that structure gets thrown out the
I was
window
gonna say,
because of the
fucking,
long
again,
structure.
the only people in Act One basically were fucking Chuck Yeager. I mean, he's the only person from the Act One, because once you break the sound barrier, the rest of the movie starts.
Right? Back to my
Yeah,
point of that's where the movie should
uh,
start.
but
Because
they,
then those characters, you've lived with them since the beginning. It's Dennis Quaid. It's everybody else. They're gonna go to space and they're gonna learn how to train. And within the first 10 minutes of the movie, they're already blowing into that fucking thing, trying to keep the bubble up. And
well, I think again,
but look, I like both
more
versions.
more
It's just
more
a
about
reason
space
to
travel.
discuss it.
I'll also say this:
I thought the
Yeager
whole
is.
movie was about space travel. I didn't even know it was about the sound barrier until
I
yesterday.
think part of it is that Yeager was also considered to be
Well,
probably
of
the one of the
course.
best American pilots we had.
I get what they're doing. Yeah.
But because NASA wanted college graduates along with pilots, they wanted these astronauts. They didn't want fighter pilots or test pilots. He didn't make it, right? And he was, like, they were. I think the consensus was the dude was a shoe in,
But
right?
what
And then
he
he
does
didn't.
is he lets them all get a record, then he comes along and he
Yep,
breaks
he
the
comes
record, which is how
exactly.
the movie ends, and that was kind of a nice wraparound.
I do like that scene where Gus's wife is talking about how much the military and the government owe her. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's a great scene where she's put up with this shit for so long, and it finally goes wrong, and she doesn't get to have dinner with Jackie. She gets a shitty brass band, the military band from the base,
Mm-hmm.
and a fridge full of food, and I do love that scene at the end where they come out on the porch and they at least get to soak in the reporters, and kind of, at least that kind of makes them happy, it seems.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the social media question of the week would be something along the lines of historical accuracy versus, structure of a character story, which, it's an interesting discussion. There's no right or wrong. The film exists, but it is fun to think about these different ways they could have approached the material.
I mean, I don't think the movie, is any different, if you, other than lengthwise, if you cut his part off. Like if you just start with the sound barrier being broken and you start the movie, you're still not getting any more character development. Really, you'd have to write some
No,
new
you just
shit to
get
develop
a
those
peppier
characters more.
movie. Yeah.
You just get a shorter, peppier
Mhm.
movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this way, at least you get some historical context before and
Oh,
after
of
type of
course,
thing,
yeah.
right?
It's
But
almost like a
I can
prologue,
see
you
your
know?
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can see your point with like it's a long
It's like a
prologue.
short film you watch before the movie.
Mhm.
Like how Wes Anderson makes his little short movies you watch. Oh, this is the piece that's a 10-minute thing you watch before the film. And it's almost like, well, here's
Right.
a 45-minute piece that goes before The Right Stuff Part 1.
The Russians want your pecker in their pocket, Marty.
Say that 5 times fast.
The Russians want your pecker in their pocket, Marty. The February '62 trek, you know, when they go out into the outback, right? John Glenn's up there. They
Oh,
go out in
yeah,
the
more
outback and all that.
confusing parts. Yeah.
So that's actually, if I'm not mistaken, that's actually covered in The Dish, which is a movie about the Australians who run that
Hmm.
satellite dish. It stars Sam Elliott, or not Sam Elliott, Sam, what's his name? The guy from Jurassic Park, Sam
Neil.
Neill. Yeah,
So
yeah, it's actually pretty good.
he was seeing the sparks the Aborigines were blowing into the sky. Is that what we were led to believe? So it's
No,
a
so
science
well,
fiction movie.
that's the symbology behind it. The
Yeah.
actual, according to NASA, the actual science is that there were peroxide crystals that formed from the rockets they were using to adjust the attitude of it. And when Scott Carpenter went up
Attitude
next,
adjustment.
when they sent him up into orbit next, he banged on the side of the of the fucking capsule and recreated the firefly effect, and so they were
Yeah.
able to prove that it wasn't actually.
And
But then
that
that's
leads
not very.
to
But that's not
Joss
very
Whedon's
symbolic.
that leads to Joss Whedon's Firefly.
There you go. Exactly.
And next week, when we discuss Serenity.
The whole Glenn in Space Fireflies, up to the parade that Gus didn't get is great. I really enjoy
It
it.
was abrupt, wasn't it? He's coming back in, and then the next thing you know, it's a parade. I'm thinking, uh-oh, is this a dream sequence? But
Yeah,
no,
and then
it
you
wasn't.
get Sally Rand and Fan Dance. That's early
Still trying to
'62.
wrap my head around that one.
Uh,
I get it, but at the same time, only in 1983, right?
and Gordon Cooper has a road named after him in my town, and it's the one that leads into the state fair. When you turn onto
Yeah.
the road to go into the state fair, that's Gordo Cooper Boulevard. Hey Marty, you got any Beemans?
There used to be a Gordo's restaurant out here, not related. It's if you really like chimichangas.
What else you got on this one? This is 3 hours and 15 minutes. We talked more about Empire than we did this. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I didn't take a lot of notes. I just kind of sat there and took it all in. You know, the movie itself is notes. It's not quite like a lecture of by watching Oppenheimer, where you feel like you're watching an audiobook, but it is a
Mhm.
lot of exposition.
They
They're
yeah. I
just
mean, the whole
telling the
movie is
story.
basically
It's
just
not about the
telling the
people.
story
It's
of the
about the
space race, and
incidents.
yeah, there's a bit of people, but you're right. It is a lot more incidents. I would watch it over Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I would too. It's easier
Um,
to watch.
and I mean, there's a lot. Like if you go through some of these big, long 3 hour movies, like Seven Samurai and Schindler's List, and Godfather Part Two, and you get these movies that are at least up there. Irishman
Godfather
and
2, what a weird one, because that one
Lawrence.
moves so quickly. It
I
doesn't
know it
feel
doesn't feel that
pertinent.
way.
That's a weird one.
Avengers Endgame is almost
Oh,
3 hours.
well,
You
see,
know,
I'm talking the over 3,
hmm
especially the over 3 and 10. Once you're pushing into that, it's like this is a commitment. Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even mention the evilness of putting a scene where the guy has to pee 2 hours into the movie. How many people went to the bathroom right there and missed like the next 5 minutes of the movie?
so I'll
Quite a
tell you,
bit, I bet. I went before that scene, so it didn't affect me.
my wife is of the opinion that movies are too long, especially the big ones, and so I remember we went to see the final Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, and
Mhm.
that's what 320 something like that,
It's
or
up there, yeah.
it's really long, and so, but and it's also got it. it's also got one of the worst false endings. Like it does this stop start on its ending because we get the whole hobbits going into his room and then they're hugging and all that stuff, and then suddenly we have to do the whole thing at the dock, and then we have to do the going away, and then we have to go back to the Shire. And by the time we had gone back to the Shire, my wife in the middle of this theater gets up and goes, "Oh, fuck this," and just storms out loudly in a packed theater and just storms out. And she waited, and she was so mad because she had to wait like another 20 minutes for the movie to end. So she's just out there in the lobby. And when I got out there, she was like, "I've been out here for 20 minutes." I'm like, the movie kept going. I don't know what to tell you.
All right. I mean, because it's an 11-hour movie, so it has a long ending.
But
At the
still,
same time, once the monster's dead, you expect the movie to wrap up pretty quick.
this thing stayed for another 45 minutes. This is the party guest that was like, "Okay, man, we turned the karaoke machine off like an hour ago. It's time for you to go
No,
home."
I'm breaking Mach 10. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to spin out, and then I'm going to regain control, and then the credits roll with all the Indiegogo backers for 20 more minutes. This movie had very short end credits.
We'll have to do some more 3-hour movies.
Oh, I'm sure. And we'll also have to do some more hour and 10-minute movies, syndicate them.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you give?
The Right Stuff? Well, The Right Stuff. So I talked about this a lot about this movie and thought a lot about it. I've seen it many, many times over the years. I think it's probably, even with some of the fictitious stuff it does and sort of the heavy symbolism, the big opener, it's probably the most accurate movie we have about American space flight and that type of thing. So not only is it historically kind of cool, it's also tells a really cool story. It's got a great cast, really well made. I'm gonna go 4 stars on it. I'm gonna go 4.
Yeah, I'm not too far behind. I use 3.5. It's still it's very very good movie. It just feels like 2 movies in one, maybe even 3 movies hiding in there. But of course, you couldn't make long form TV the way you could now back then. Yeah. So how else are you going to tell a story like this in 1983 on the big screen? So. Yeah.
I feel like this would have been like we talked about a really amazing 8-part miniseries, or like a 3 2-hour events, like some Thornbirds type shit, from back in the day. It would have been really good that way.
This was the 98th episode of the show.
Wow.
So we're coming into our next 100. A whole bunch of other movies are coming. I mean, season 3 started with Always, and it's wrapping up with The Right Stuff. And somehow The Last Waltz thematically fits in somewhere in the middle. It's strange how these movies all wrap up together, but what comes in the future? Well, I guess we'll see.
Episode 99, right?
What's episode 99? That's what we're doing next week, sir. What movie could you possibly have in store for us in 99, or do you want me to say mine first?
I think I have one for you here. And this is right around. Well, this is going to be right around New Year's, right? Right
this
after.
This episode will be dropping right in the middle of December.
Right in the middle of December. Okay, so
99 is December 15th. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm going to give you this little film that got some pretty good reviews. It's an older one. We'll see how you like it. It's called Local Hero.
Oh, you're bringing Local Hero to the show. Good thing I didn't book a guest and have them pick that movie. That's all right, because I've been curious about that one. That's one that comes up a lot. That's one that Jim from Bravo, one of his favorite films, I've heard. There's an episode of MST, I think it's Monster A Go-Go, where they're like, look, you can watch the shitty movie, or we can watch the good movie. And the good movie was Local Hero. And needless to say, they did not end up watching Local Hero that episode, but I've always been curious about the film, and I've kind of had a hard time finding a copy. So that's why I haven't been able to see it. And hey, it's one less blind pick for me to give you in the future. So
I haven't seen it either. So I figured one last blind pick for the first 100.
Nice. Episode 99. Let's rip this bandage off. Return of the Jedi next week, sir. We got to do these before 100.
Why?
because I'm being predictable. Because I wanted
right.
to. Because
right,
they are a
Return of the
very
Jedi.
core of, making Pondo. The original Star Wars trilogy had a lot to do with inspiring us as filmmakers, and we've had pretty good conversations on Star Wars and Empire. Needless to say, I'm not going to be going into the other movies anytime soon. I really just wanted to get through these three. And also, don't watch the one with the Jedi rap in it. Be sure to save yourself that and watch the original cut of Jedi as well. Unless you want to watch that drooling monster.
I was kind of looking forward to that Jedi rap.
Well, you can watch both.
Okay. All right. No, I just that's fine. No, I figured it was coming. You get on these rolls, and I just as long as we don't do it with the Lord of the Rings, we'll be fine. Because otherwise, that's going to be a long 3 weeks.
Yeah, it would be a bit before I would feel like doing that.
It's like, oh my god,
Instead of Thanksgiving. One year.
Now, other people are probably just like, "What is he talking about? I watch all those in a row in a day." And it's like,
just watch all 3 in one episode or something.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. Anyway, okay, that sounds good.
All right, so we watched a movie about people trying to get into space and other people who were already in space.
That's right.
Next week, maybe it's the same theme.
I don't know. I've never seen Local Hero. We'll see. Return of the Jedi, maybe it's all about trying to kill your dad. Maybe they're both about that. Maybe it's about 3-foot murder bears.
Yeah, they are vicious.
Mm-hmm. You want to get out of here on a quote?
It's about those damn Skywalkers. Fucking the whole thing up.
Sometimes you get a pooch that can't be screwed.
This is no cave.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Don't miss an episode. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, like us on YouTube, or give us a 5-star rating on the podcast app of your choice.